You are listening to Medical Spa Insider, presented by the American Med Spa Association. This week, AmSpa founder Alex Thiersch sits down with Keri Concannon, CEO of Beauty Rep, a new platform for connecting brands with practices.
Okay, everybody, welcome and thank you for joining us and welcome to the podcast. We are lucky to have on the AmSpa hotline, Keri Concannon, the co-founder and CEO of Beauty Rep. Co-founder is Olivia Schmidt, who I just found out is an attorney, but she could not join us. I'm very, very sad about that. Beauty Rep is the company that you both founded. And I'm very, very excited to talk to you about this because it's a relatively new company. I mean, you're a startup, but you're not new. But at the same time, you're building something, I think, that's innovative and different. It's technology based in that it's, an online platform. But you both have had a lot of experience in the industry working for some of the bigger companies. And first of all, you just got back from Paris from INCAS, and I know that was exciting. I've heard nothing but good things about the show, which is amazing. First of all, welcome to the show. I appreciate you joining us. How are things? How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. A little jet lagged, but doing okay today.
Yeah, now that coming back is supposed to be more difficult. Do you find it that way coming back?
I think so for sure, but also too just so enriched with all the information that you get, all the brands that were there that you kind of feed off of this momentum that want to learn all the things, want to understand all the things, and then follow up with all the things so that we can stay curved too.
IMCAS it's in Paris. It's just a massive aesthetics event, and I can only dream of the medical spa show, which is our show that we put on in Vegas. I can only imagine how many attendees are at IMCAS.
Is it for 20,000 this year? And
oh my God.
You could feel every single one of them in the room. There's nothing like an AD. There's a lot of people, but this is, catacombs and all the meetings, all the business meetings and the insights. I think in the US, a lot of times we get kind of in this bubble of what's happening here, and you're really finding out what's on the forefront, what other, countries are doing, their innovations. It's pretty next level in that sense.
Yeah, it is. And it's all, I always find it exciting when you kind of go international because it's a totally different world. And you think, there's so much in the United States it's good that we have all these controls and the FDA is there, but at the same time, you're like, man, there is so much out there and there's so much coming. It's just, it's exciting.
It really is.
Let's talk, first of all, about Beauty Rep and what it is, and then I want to get into kind of how you came up with it because you've had a lot of experience in the industry. But let's just first give us some background on what Beauty Rep is, so folks who are driving in their car understand kind of what you've created. And then we'll get into kind of what the background is of it and why you started it.
Absolutely. So Beauty Rep is a B2B platform, essentially where it's free for practices. They upload their medical license, their tax resale certificates, their Duns and Bradstreet, what they would do with any traditional brand that they partner with. And at that point, it unlocks to where they have access to brands that have said, these are the parameters for our partnerships with practices, and they can shop. So they see B2B facing language. Typically right now, the average practice, if they hear about a brand and they want to discover, potentially carry it in clinic, they're going to a direct to consumer site. So you're seeing more consumer facing language where on Beauty Rep, you're actually seeing the B2B facing information, opening order requirements, minimum quantities. But then I think where the magic of the platform really comes into play, it's not just where you can partner with those brands, but also to where you can access education and marketing down to the SKU level. So instead of, having a back and forth dialogue with, a sales rep or an inside salesperson, you actually have a lot of that information at your fingertips so you can make a really educated decision on those partnerships, much quicker than going through the typical rigorous process of brand partnerships.
So it's a way for businesses to connect with brands and develop those partnerships and to be able to purchase from brands in a way that's done kind of in an online platform. Is it meant to be an easier experience where you don't have to necessarily go through the reps? Is it meant to replace the reps or augment the reps? What's the relationship there?
Yeah, so it varies. So we have some brands that do have full field sales teams, and we consider ourselves extensions of them.
Hmm.
I've been in medical aesthetics for a long time as a sales rep myself, and I can tell you, especially I think when I started managing sales reps, the concern was always, I wish I had an assistant, someone to help me with placing orders, answering general questions that typically come through. So Beauty Rep is meant to be an extension of those salespeople. It can also augment a sales rep if one does not exist, but it's also to help with continuity. As we know, unfortunately, there's a lot of turnover, on the brand side, but also on the practice side. So being able to have one place to go back to see past order history, access, again, product marketing and education materials is pretty imperative.
Yeah, so this is where I wanted to go with this anyway. So you started to answer this, like what was the impetus behind this with you and Olivia starting this company? First of all, you come from a sales background in
Yeah.
large aesthetics companies, so you're familiar with how the sales process works, how these partnerships work. Talk a little bit about your background first of all, and then what was that moment where you were like, this is something where this is needed and I want to be the one to start it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been, as you mentioned, I've been in sales a long time, over 20 years, about 10 of those on the skincare side of the business.
Hmm.
So I worked for Obagi Medical, a really
Hmm.
amazing company. I joke, I was boots on the ground. I started as a field sales rep in Charleston, South Carolina, and then did the thing where I grew and became a manager and managed a sales team, and then grew and took over Obagi's global KOL program and kind of grew and continued to do things there. But I noticed at Obagi that there were a lot of areas that were siloed,
Hmm.
from between sales and marketing and education, and not in a bad way. It was just reps were kind of responsible for doing more of the lift, right? As far as,
Yeah.
a rep would have to send out a lot of the marketing materials. There wasn't general repository of those things for practices to access. So I found that again, over time, we were doing more of that than we were actually having quality conversations with practices about sell through and, how to
Hmm.
build their business, talk about trends, talk about eventing, things that are going to help that particular practice really grow and be better in their space.
Hmm.
Um, and when I left Obagi and I went to a startup, and here you go from a brand that everybody knows who you are, right? Obagi was a
Hmm.
household name for most part. And you go to a startup, and all of a sudden you have a whole different set of challenges. You don't have the brand awareness. Practices are trying to understand what you're doing. They're trying to understand technology. Again, you're working with a brand that doesn't have a huge budget. We had a significant sales team, but again, keeping things in front of everybody. And we had churn of sales reps, like a lot of startups do. And so
Hmm.
you miss these gaps with practices that have said, yes, I love your brand. I want to invest in an opening order. And then all of a sudden they don't have a sales rep to support them. So what happens in that interim? And then we acquired during that time another brand from Glytone from Pierre Fabre. And we had practices that struggled to find our sales reps. And there were still practices faxing orders. And I think that was at the point where I had this mind
Hmm.
blown moment. I knew working with hospital systems when I was a field sales rep was very challenging, dealing with POs and centralized ordering. But it was really at that moment that I was like, oh my gosh, it is 2023 and practices are faxing orders. Who has the fax machine? No,
No, I didn't.
where is
Honestly,
it?
we're going to need
Where
a
is the fax?
definition for that. Like, I'm not even sure what you're talking about.
It's
That's
it's
amazing. Yeah.
pretty crazy. And at that time too, I was working more on the marketing side of things, and a dear friend of mine had stepped in to take over kind of the digital marketing because I was more of the B2B, responsibility, and
Hmm.
was explaining some of the challenges. And he's like, this can be so easily digitized. But before
Hmm.
that, he's like, we need to talk to Olivia Schmid, who she's an attorney. She's Columbia Law. She's brilliant. Went to London Business School. But she had experience at Allergan and Galderma. And I think naively, I thought, all these companies have to have it together. You think
Yeah.
some things are kind of proprietary to one organization until you step back and realize, no, it's really the industry as a whole. And a lot of these brands are investing significantly in learning management systems and marketing portals, and practices are really struggling to access them. You think
Yeah.
the big private equity groups that, have these kind of processes and chains, but thinking about the smaller practices, the long tail, those we call them C and D level accounts that kind of get churned through the sales process with brands that, maybe dealing
Hmm.
with an inside salesperson. They don't have a sales rep to help them. And when you're
Yeah,
talking a cash pay business, and money is king in everything, and you've got money sitting on your shelf and you feel like you don't have support, this is where attrition happens in our business.
absolutely. So then, okay, so then all that makes sense. And it was when you talked about the kind of disconnect between sales and marketing, that rings true for me because we deal with that even with our sales team.
Yeah.
This is a constant friction between, you know, number one, sales needs more marketing support, but then they also want to have more time just for sales, and there's constant friction there. But at the same time, this on the smaller startup side, I see what you're saying there too, where you just don't necessarily have all of the pieces in place. So, you said you were looking at kind of Allergan and Galderma, and I totally get it from their side too. It's you think they all have this together, but then in these larger businesses, sometimes it becomes almost too big to be seamless and quick, and so there's many steps and processes you have to go through. What was the thing that you thought, all right, this is what is missing, number one, and number two,
Yeah.
how did you and Olivia start to figure out and piece together what that missing piece would look like, um, that ultimately became Beauty Rep?
Yeah. So I think it was the realization that the average practice now is partnered with over 14 different brands. So the average
Hmm.
now I'm hearing is 10 to 12 skincare brands, 3 to 4 injectables, and 2 devices. So you're talking like a hydrofacial and, a
Yeah.
microneedling
And you
device.
said 10 to 12 skincare brands, really?
10 to 12 skincare
Wow.
brands.
That's
I mean, if
crazy.
you think about it, there's a lot of companies that have single SKUs, or they're wanting to just maybe buy one or two, and they're not buying the entire product portfolio. So they're
Yeah.
just, buying
Yeah, that's
kind of
true.
segmented SKUs that make sense for their patient demographic.
Yeah.
So when you look at it from that standpoint, and they're managing 14, potentially 14 different sales reps, 14 different brand parameters, and how they disseminate their information, that's really the big aha moment of we need to have kind of a centralized place that practices can go to that is just an easier access. They can, again, manage all of their orders on one dashboard but still have that direct relationship to the brand.
Gotcha. So the idea is, okay, we're going to create like truly a dashboard, a place where all of this is centralized, where they can see it all, but then the brands are also then plugged in, so they know that they can
Yes.
go to that same dashboard and have interaction, but with the businesses, so that it's all kind of in one place. Is that fair?
Correct. Yeah, we're not a distributor or reseller. So when a practice is purchasing on BeautyRep, they're purchasing on each brand's terms of service.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Is this the first iteration, or was like, did you have a beta test where you started it out, and like, how's the process been for building it out? Because tech and software, obviously,
Yeah.
that's always
Oh,
interesting
it's
when you
super
start it.
fun.
Yeah.
It is. It's
Right.
super fun. Let me tell you, I have learned so much in the last year. So our official launch was November of 25.
Okay.
But we've been in beta since MCAS of last year. So I remember going and pitching to brands at MCAS last year, really on like a Figma demo. It wasn't even a real website yet.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was kind of like, this is the idea. But between Olivia and I, our relationships in the business, we were really fortunate to have some people that really stuck their neck out for us, and brands that really saw what we were talking about, believed in this, and were willing to go out on a limb. We're really willing to pilot, with a cohort of practices and really let us test and see, is this something feasible? So we spent a year building the product. I mean, we're not selling a traditional, skincare product or service. We're selling a
Hmm.
platform. We're selling tech. So to your point, yes, getting it right has been really critical, really imperative. But
Yeah.
it's beautiful. I mean, everybody who gets on it, they're like, oh my gosh, I can get everything here. That's, and then they start going, well, I want all of my brands on here. And we laugh and we say, we do too. It'll really be full circle when it gets to that point.
And what's the response been from the brands? Has there been um excitement about it, and has there been any question from some of the reps to say, well, wait a minute, now this is what am I going to do if you're loading all these onto a centralized platform?
Yeah, so I haven't had a single brand tell me that this is a crazy idea, that they don't
Yeah.
think this will work. I think we're a little ahead of the curve in the sense just because we are talking about we've been functioning a certain way. I think I asked ChatGPT based upon the parameters of how B2B works today, what age they would give our business, and I think it was like 1998. So that gives you an idea. This is like leap years ahead, right?
The Medical Spa Show returns to the Wynn in Las Vegas April 9th through 12th. Every year, MSS is where the best come to get better. Over 100 educational sessions, a sold-out expo hall filled with more than 200 potential brand partners, and networking events that bring together the most supportive community in medical aesthetics. Friends of the pod can save $100 off their registration today with the promo code INSIDER. That's medicalspashow.com, promo code INSIDER. We can't wait to see you there. Promo code expires April 9th, 2026 and only applies to primary registrants. It cannot be combined with any additional offers. Learn more about this event at medicalspashow.com.
So from that standpoint, I think brands are also assessing the fact that they have spent so much money on portals and CRM systems and all of
Yeah.
these things that we would effectively kind of replace or aggregate for them. So that's typically they're sitting there going, "Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, we've invested so much in these tools," but they also know that this is coming. So we're being flexible and working with them to
Is
streamline
there a
their.
way to like integrate with that though at some point where you can
Yes,
kind of interface with that? Because that's
we
what all
do.
I mean, now we're seeing what this kind of reminds me of is one of the hottest things right now is our dashboards for data, for all the marketing data and for
Yes.
EMR. And in a way, what they do, they integrate with all of those different things. And, there's nothing to say you couldn't do that.
Yeah. And that's already what we're doing. It's just getting them over the hurdle of doing that. I think the other thing
Yeah.
brands struggle with is they don't want to sit next to the virtual shelf next to their competitor. And typically I
Yeah.
laugh and I say, go onto any of your customers' Instagram pages. They're holding up Botox, Dysport, Jeuveau, Xeomin. So it's already there. It's just a matter of, relegating to the fact that if an Obagi rep walks in and they're talking about Obagi, that practice is turning around and they're comparing every single other brand. So at this point, Beauty Rep is selling on merit. It's helping brands sell on their merit, their assets. It's their one source of truth, for access again to B2B information on every brand. So if you have a
Mhm.
particular brand that's saying this is our clinical study, they're comparing against all those other brands' clinical studies if they're willing to provide them. So this is again
Yeah.
really, really kind of providing a level of transparency in our space that I don't think we've ever really had the opportunity to
Yeah.
capture.
It's like the purest form of free market, right? It's like, yeah, if you believe in your product and you're right up next to your competitor, that's how it should be. And plus the patients aren't necessarily the ones that are looking at that. It's the companies. They're the ones that are looking at that. Is what's your like when you look at down the road and you think of okay, wild success, like beyond your wildest dreams, what does this look like?
Oh gosh, having every aesthetic brand on the platform, I think the largest to the
Hmm.
smallest. I think I'm really excited to, again, having had a taste in the startup world with a small brand that had no recognition. And you know this, there's such beautiful technology that's coming out. Going to MCAS,
Yeah.
I geek out seeing AI perfected molecules and all these kind of indie brands that are coming up that can't afford the traditional Salesforce and PR and marketing budgets, but they have incredible science and technology that can be really effective in clinics if they can get there. And so, what I'm really excited about is some of these smaller brands being able to really make an impact in the space through Beauty Rep. But also, again, helping larger brands capitalize on a market that is a side of their market that typically churns, the smaller clinics that may not get all the love. But this, again, provides continuity to those customers that hasn't existed before this.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's exciting. Now, are you a kind of a born entrepreneur? Did you always know you wanted to be a business owner?
Yeah, my dad had a successful service business for, gosh, close to 40 years. So I used to sit in on uh, Zig Ziglar, Tom Hopkins, Dale Carnegie,
Uh,
from the time I was probably like 4 or 5 years old with his sales team. So I tried to ignore it as best I could, but it was definitely in my blood. Definitely in
yeah.
my blood.
Well, and so now that you've been, I mean, since November, that's not very long, but how do you feel? I mean, are you invigorated and excited? I mean, a lot of folks are doing it, you didn't do this right out of business school or college or anything like that. So you've had time to work and develop your career. And so now you're starting your own business. How are you feeling about it? Are you glad you did it? Do you wish you did it sooner?
Gosh.
How are you feeling?
I don't regret a single second of it. I think when you've worked in, kind of the corporate America structure and you see things and you kind of speak up, you want to see change and it's really hard to make change happen. Now it's kind of we're
Yeah.
taking life by the you know what and making it happen. We're kind of pushing
Yeah.
the change. So it's really invigorating, I think, to wake up every day with someone like Olivia who's like-minded. We have kind of the same hustle, the same ideas, and we're just going to go and make it happen either way. Are there days that are terrifying and scary? Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's sometimes where you're like, is this ever going to happen? Is this ever going to hit? But we have 14
Yeah.
brands on the platform, numerous contracts out. I think after MCAS, we're having, conversations with, again, some of these bigger players that are starting to see that this is coming and they want to get in on it before, they're the last to the party. And so that's exciting. And then on the practice side is getting them to understand there's no catch for this. If they come on BeautyRep, the pricing is the same for them as it would be if a sales rep came in the door. There's no membership fees, there's no nothing. It's really just aggregating their process so that they can be more efficient. I can't even, again, I can't even imagine what it's like as a business owner today, having to do social media. I mean, talk about as a business, we're struggling with that. You've got to
Yeah.
be up on your
Yeah.
social media, your ops, your finances, but then you
Yeah.
add in on their side the patient care and the membership programs and all the things that everyone's telling you should do on top of all your brand partnerships and relationships so that
Yeah.
it's effective. So when you look at it from all those angles, it's
Yeah.
time to be alive.
It's a lot. Yeah. It's quick question. Did you guys like self-fund this or did you go out and get investors? I'm just like, because that's a huge thing for folks wanting to start their own business. They don't know what to
Yeah.
do. How do you raise money? And don't need the details, but I'm just curious what your structure is.
Yeah, you bet. So we bootstrapped the first probably
That's
6 or
awesome.
so months.
Yeah.
I'm really fortunate to have a lot of great mentors and
Yeah.
just in business in general that really kind of walked us through and helped us with some of the pitfalls
Yeah.
early on. And then we had some angel investors. So
Oh, that's awesome.
we did do a friends and family round, and actually the majority is female
Oh,
entrepreneurs
that's
that
awesome.
supported us and
That's
believed
awesome.
in what we were doing. So that's been really, really great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, no, and what's I think really cool about medical spas in particular is that it is such a female dominated and driven
Yeah.
industry. It's most med spas are owned by women. The patients are women. Even the larger businesses are run by women, which I think is cool. It needs to be celebrated
Yeah.
more. One of the things that you touched on, and I'm curious for one of the things that I think gets oftentimes lost in the shuffle is that most providers and medical spas in this industry are run by single owners, very low number of staff. So it's a single provider in a
Yeah.
kind of in a room, or maybe they've got a couple staff members, single location. It's not these big, giant conglomerates with multiple states and multiple locations. What would the kind of value prop for them be, the pitch for them, if you're, a single location in Arizona or North Dakota, for them to join the platform? What's the benefit for them? Are there other benefits just besides getting access to the reps? Because I know you've got some other benefits on there like education and things like that for
Yeah.
that they can get access to.
The benefit, I think, for the single locations, because typically when you talk about like national or strategic accounts that have multi-locations, they're able to come in at more as a buying group, right? And so
Yeah,
they're able to
yeah, for
get
sure.
fixed pricing, and the single owner operators typically don't have those advantages. With us kind of spelling out what those practice partnership benefits look like by brand, they're able to see, an opening order may only be $300 versus $3,000.
Hmm.
So I think oftentimes, what happens because we are in a digitized world, they hear what another practice may be paid to get in a brand in their market, and it may not be the same. The brand parameters may be different than, oftentimes what a sales rep may come in and say is the minimum requirement. So we talk transparency left and right with Beauty Rep, but this is again where a practice can understand what their barriers to entry are. But then we've also built the platform almost like a D2C environment. So if brands say that you have to order a minimum of $250 every time, we already have those things built in so that as they're adding to cart and getting ready to check out, before it goes to either the sales rep for final approval or it goes straight to the brand to be fulfilled, that it's giving them all those parameters so they can hit promotional opportunities, they can see what the value looks like. But then over time, I think what's great because it's putting all of their brands in one place, they can see increase in purchasing patterns. They can see what their top performing SKUs are. If they don't have a point of sale system in their clinics, oftentimes they're doing hand inventory. And it's really difficult to assess your run rates, really, manage value by brand. So this gives those opportunities that we're building in algorithms effectively that can help them be better over time and help them maximize on different brand promotional opportunities because we built all that in on the back end.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So it gives them transparency. It gives them, access.
Yeah.
And plus it gives them, obviously some additional insight that they wouldn't have normally, which I think is huge. A lot of times I raise that because a lot of the kind of single owner, single location, it makes up the bulk, 80% of the industry.
Yes.
And they kind of get lost in the shuffle because we know that some of the bigger brands like the Allergans, the Galdermers, they focus as they should because that's where their money's made on
20%.
20%, right?
Yep.
But we need the single folks are the ones that are providing the bulk of the services. So that's cool. I think it's really cool what you've built. I think you've got a bright future. Where can folks find out more if they want to learn more and if they want to get more information or reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's BeautyRep.com. Please go there. You can easily sign up or ask for a demo or reach out to me directly. I'm more than happy to walk anybody through the platform.
That's awesome. The website is really cool. I have to say, I've been on it looking at it, so it's awesome. I think you guys did a great job. Sorry, Olivia couldn't be on to have another lawyer here. We'd probably be talking all day though, so it's probably better. But
she would love it. She would love to talk regulatory with you. That's the other part of Beauty Rep. She's like, that's why we have all the checks and balances. So it provides that one-stop shop on the vetting side.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, best of luck. We'll have to get you back to get an update as things go along because I think it's really cool what you're doing. Appreciate you coming. I'll give you the last word, and then but again, thanks again for everything, and best of luck.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And of course, your group, AM Spa and the Medical Spa Show, I think we're going to be there this year too. So we're excited to participate.
That's awesome.
And work with you guys moving forward.
Yeah, can't wait. We should. We'd love to. We'd love to. I think what you guys are doing is great, and it would be great to be involved. One thing that always gets me excited about this industry, and especially now, is just all this new innovation, these new ideas. And the things that people are coming up with. I'm always amazed at the creativity and the problem solving. Like what you guys have done is cool. It's such a cool idea. And so kudos to you for coming up with it.
Thank you. I need to show you the back end of the site. I think will blow your mind. Everybody.
Oh, I can't wait. Yeah. That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'll see you in April then.
Sounds good. Absolutely.
Thank you to our producer, Madeline Moeller, marketing content coordinator, who organizes the podcast schedule and guests and provides topics and talking points. Audio and video editing, voiceover, graphics, and platform management is provided by myself, Derek Hawk, Digital Marketing Supervisor. Our themes are provided by Maka Music. Thank you for watching or listening to the Medical Spa Insider podcast. Please follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast and subscribe to our YouTube channel for future episodes. Ratings and reviews are greatly appreciated. For more information about the American Med Spa Association, visit americanmedspa.org. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by AM Spa. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance in the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity that they represent. AM Spa provides this podcast as a local service for educational purposes only. This podcast does not constitute legal advice, nor does it establish an attorney-client relationship. Please consult with an attorney on your legal issues. And as always, thank you for listening to the Medical Spa Insider. Remember, compliance is cool.